You're listening
Ron and Don Show.
to the Ron and Don Show. And yes, my dad's pretty annoying.
All right, look out now. Here we come. It's the Ron and Don Show. They heard your plea. Now you got three episodes of the Ron and Don Show brought to you by our title sponsor, Les Schwab. Our thanks to them for the life of the tire. Everything's free at Les Schwab, not like the other guys. You got to go and you buy those silly certificates, and then those certificates that you bought, they end up covering nothing. Les Schwab, they got you covered for the life of your tire. And really, they not only want to do business with you, but for your family and with your family generation. And that's what Les Schwab is all about. Doing the right thing. It matters. Doing the right thing since 1952, starting in a small town in Pineville, Oregon. And now here they are as we head into 2020 with 85 locations to serve you throughout Western Washington. And some big things coming up in the month of December as we make sure that every kiddo in Western Washington has a toy this holiday season. So more about that coming up a little bit later. You know, as we head into the holidays, a lot of times Thanksgiving happens and we sit around and we eat and then we go out and we get our workout in, and then we know that Christmas is coming, New Year's is coming. So then I don't know about you, we try to do a little bit of a better job maybe in the early months of December, because we know the office Christmas party's coming and we know that grandma's cookies are coming, and then we know it's going to get out of control a little bit. And so we start thinking about, you know what I'm going to do? Is even though I'm going through a Burger King right now, instead of getting a Whopper, what I'm going to do is get the Impossible Whopper. I'm going to order the Impossible Whopper because if I'm eating something that is plant-based, then it must be good for me. And we told you a couple episodes ago that there's a lot of people now that are consuming, especially plant-based burgers, that don't consider themselves vegetarian or don't consider themselves vegans. They just want to eat a little bit better, and they feel like when they're going through a drive-thru and they're ordering a Whopper or an Impossible Whopper, that because it's not a meat product, that number one, they must be doing something better for the planet, and number two, they must be doing something better for themselves. And I will tell you this right now. Number one, you're not necessarily doing something better for the planet. And number two, when you're downing that with fries and a milkshake anyway, you might as well go ahead and just have the meat burger, because there's not much of a difference. And just because you're eating something that doesn't have meat in it, let's take French fries, for instance. French fries don't have meat in them. It's a vegetable, Don. But they're not necessarily good for you. Take that chocolate shake. Doesn't have meat in it, not necessarily good for you. There's a lot of junk food out there that are vegan products, and the Impossible Whopper, in my mind, is kind of a junk food product anyway. A lot of people out there, though, are eating the Impossible Whopper. Companies like Burger King went out, and they said, you know what, we're going to try this plant-based meat or non-meat in a couple different cities. We're going to see what happens. The Impossible Whopper is one of their biggest and best sellers right now. They're expanding it across all restaurants. And now there's a gentleman that has stepped forward and said, bop, 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 as my grandmother used to say, bop, 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 Donald, bop, bop, bop. Because evidently, he's saying the way that these Impossible Whoppers are prepared, it's impossible for these Whoppers to not be coated in meat product. Right, Ron?
Yeah, so his name is Philip Williams, and you be the judge and jury on this. So Philip Williams, he's from Georgia. He is a practicing vegan, and so now he has sued Burger King because he's saying, okay, you led me to believe that as a vegan, I could come to Burger King and I wouldn't violate my personal way that I like to eat. And if you remember back in the day, McDonald's had to do this for some certain religious organizations where they used to use beef tallow in their French fries. And that was one of the things that just famously made their fries taste delicious. But for someone that had dietary restrictions, they got sued. They ended up changing the way they cook their French fries worldwide because of that lawsuit. So this lawsuit, the Georgia man is saying, if you take and you put a bunch of Whoppers on the grill, beef Whoppers, and you got some 16-year-old in Georgia that's flipping these burgers back there, and then my order comes in for the plant-based Impossible Whopper, and he just takes the patty and throws it right down on the grill where you just cooked a regular Whopper, then all of that fat out of the burger is now going to go onto my plant-based burger, and so you lied to me, and this has violated my vegan principles. And if you've ever known a vegan, this is very serious. They do not want to have the food that they eat touch animal products. And I get that. Like if you said, I'm not eating animal products, and then the next thing you know is your kale salad is right up against a big thing of meatloaf. It's like it sort of defeats the point from their vantage point. So does Burger King need to install a never been touched by meat portion of their griddle or an additional griddle that is Impossible Burger only? Do they owe this man an apology? Do they owe him a refund? Do they need to buy new griddles for all the stores that you could never put a Whopper on?
Well, he's saying one of the reasons the Impossible Burger tastes so good is because it's being created on the same meat crates that the regular burgers are being flame broiled on, and as a result of that, that's why these things taste so amazing. It's not true. I've bought these, I've prepared these at home, and they actually taste really good.
They taste great. I've had them on griddles and
taste
on
really good,
broilers.
and they don't fall apart like bean burgers do. They have a consistency of a burger, and when you sit down, if you had friends come over and they didn't see these come out of the packaging, they didn't see you preparing these, and you sat down and just said, we're going to have burgers tonight, I don't think they would know the difference. My son has sat down and ate one of these, and he thought he was just eating a cheeseburger, and he was eating one of these plant-based burgers.
Do you think that Burger King's at fault here?
Well,
they misled this guy to think that it's vegan?
I think what's going to be interesting to your point is, will there be more pushback around the world? Because they say that this particular product launch, that they weren't ready for this, that they didn't understand the way that people were going to react and respond to it, and now in 2,500 stores throughout 25 different countries, they're going to be coming at people with the Impossible Burger. And for somebody out there that's a vegan and they feel that it's very, very important that meat product, that particular meat product, that meat juice, everything else on the same, I can see where he's coming from. I can see his point.
I think it does continue, though. You said it's not going to be, and right now it's not necessarily good for the planet. It could be, because you look at the what's happened to milk and the milk industry. All of these milk alternatives like almond milk and soy milk and all of these other beverages that have taken over, like I think 16% of people are now using them. That number's even higher among millennials and younger. And so the dairy industry has had to adjust.
By making cheese. That's why we have so much cheese.
Yes, there's an overflow of cheese.
Yeah.
But they're most likely, if that trend continues, going to have to scale back the number of cows that are producing milk. And so that would lead to a better planet for methane gas, everything else. So if that same things happen for beef production, if you see beef production decline, and you see plant-based stuff go up and up and up, it will have a net positive for the environment, because you would have less methane gas, you would have a diminishment of that industry, and I'm not rooting for that one way or the other. I'm just saying that I think it could if this trend continues.
I just think I have to be careful. I saw a friend of mine who was just at one of the Disney parks, I think down in Florida, and he was showing pictures of a plant-based hot dog that he was eating, and I'm like, wow, corporate America is really jumping on board here. And the only reason they're jumping on board is because there's an opportunity here to make money. When there's an opportunity to make money, I hope there's an opportunity to educate people. And this Impossible Burger, in the way that it's being prepared and served up at Burger King, it's just another form of junk food. It's not necessarily better for you,
know what,
than the meat patty that you're eating.
I'm going to find an interview. The guy that is, it's either Beyond Foods or Impossible Foods. He's an interesting dude. I heard an hour-long interview with him. He is genius-level guy. He could make money in any way that he wanted to. He's very sought after, and he lives in California, very sought after among startups. He chose this for altruistic reasons and for purpose reasons, not just to make money. Because he can make money a lot easier.
He's selling these to Burger King and to Disney for altruistic reasons, not to make money?
He wants to make money, but the mission of the company is to change the world, to change the way people eat.
He did.
And to change the world.
It's the number one seller at Burger King.
Yeah, so money's the byproduct.
In Disney.
His mission and his education is like, if I just want to make money, I can make more money, believe me, doing other stuff with big tech.
I don't think he could right now. I don't think he could.
Well, he's grown this thing.
The Impossible Burger is out of control right now. It is out, but I'll give you the final word.
I think that Burger King is going to have to install a vegan-only grill in every single restaurant after this lawsuit.
And then you're probably asking another fast food to do that, because when everyone sees the reaction to the Impossible Whopper, then we're going to see the Impossible McMac and everything.
It's not a huge ass to have it cooked on a griddle that's never seen meat.
All right. Hey, don't forget, if you want to reach out to us, you can find us on Facebook. You can also write us. He's Ron Upshaw at Windermere.com. I'm Don O'Neill at Windermere.com. We do something called a Ron and Don Sit Down as we head into 2020. Let's talk about your real estate journey, and it doesn't matter where you live. If you're within the sound of our voice, if we can't get to you, we know one of the great Windermere agents that can, okay? But if you're in the Puget Sound region, we would love to sit down and to work with you. All starts with a cup of coffee, whether you're thinking about buying, selling, or maybe you're thinking about investing, you're a first-time home buyer. Maybe you're thinking about becoming a landlord for the first time, and that's running a business, and you're freaked out about that a little bit. Or maybe starting an Airbnb, right? Because you have a little room, or you have one of those little cottages, or an ADU, or mother-in-law, whatever. Let's talk about it. It all starts with a cup of coffee or Ron and Don sit down. Reach out to us, ronanddon.com. You'll see our email addresses, and then we'll sit down maybe on a Friday, a Saturday, or if you're working during the week, maybe we can do it on a Sunday afternoon. All right? The Ron and Don Show, all brought to you by our great friends at Les Schwab. Les Schwab, let's say it together. Doing the right thing. You know it matters, and we will see you in about 30 seconds.
Ron and Don. Ron and Don. Ron and Don. On the Ron and Don Radio Network, man.
Okay, how much do I have to pay you for this?
$1.
All right, Brett Clark is here. We have a great partnership with Les Schwab, and doing the right thing really does matter as we head into the holidays. Brett, you and I were just talking off mic a little bit. Les Schwab now has their own tire line, and your wife and I, we both have these on our trucks or cars. What is the tire line? Because I know you're a tire salesman, but we were just, again, talking about this, and you're like, man, even if I wasn't a tire salesman, these might be the greatest tires ever, thanks to Les Schwab.
Yeah, absolutely. It's our own brand, and that tire brand is called Mazama. We have them in two different styles. We have them in the passenger car tire, which is the Reputation. You have them in the light truck tire, which is the Open Range. And these tires have been absolutely phenomenal tires. Like I was bragging just a minute ago. I didn't. I typically I sell tires, obviously. And I drive on a lot of them. And when I put these Reputations on my wife's vehicle, they are just absolutely the most amazing tires. I was just telling you that typically I put snow tires on in the winter, but I think this year we're just going to try to run the Reputations all the way through, just because it's been a great driving tire, and we got a set stuck on your truck, and hopefully they're doing well for you. Because we've had nothing but great reviews about this.
Changes of performance. Used to be with my old tires, because I have a rear-wheel drive 4Runner, I would have to put it in 4 high with the other tires on it to slide around, and not with these new tires. They really are fantastic. How can people find out more about these new Les Schwab tires?
Well, of course, we want you to stop into our Les Schwab Tire Centers. We've got 85 Western Washington locations, or you can go to leschwab.com, and we'll have a bunch of information for you on that as well.
leschwab.com, 85 locations to serve you. Les Schwab. Let's say it together. Doing the right thing, it matters. All right, it's the Ron and Don Show, only on the Ron and Don Radio Network. Everything at ronanddon.com.
So I saw this story in the Chicago Tribune, and it really got me thinking, and I wanted to ask you about it. I don't think you've read it. You're a parent. You have a child in school, and there...
I have a child in the bathroom.
Yeah, you do have a child in the bathroom.
Dropping a deuce.
So, hey now. So there is a thing in every state except for 19 states. Schools are allowed to have a thing called a quiet room. And the quiet room, from what I've read, and the story is headquartered in Illinois, but I went and checked. Washington State does allow quiet rooms. So usually the quiet room is used if there is a child in a school that has an outburst, that does something violent towards another kid, is out of control in some way. The teacher can take that child, put them in the quiet room. Typically, it is sort of has some soft surfaces in there. There's not a lot in the quiet room. They shut the door and they're alone in there. And an adult typically stands on the outside of the room, is not supposed to interact with the child. They write down and timestamp what is happening. So if the kid is crying, they write it down. If the kid is saying something, they write it down. Then so they write down a timeline of what's going on, and then at a certain time, they will let the child back out, and then they can interact with them. And so they did. ProPublica and the Chicago Tribune teamed up, and they looked at all of these transcripts for 20,000 child trips to the quiet room. And so what they found is that they insinuate that there's a lot of abuse going on. So sometimes teachers have a difficult student that they just don't get along with, and they're using the quiet room to give themselves a break. And so it's just like, I cannot deal with this kid today. You're going to the quiet room. So they send them to the quiet room. Other times they have documented.
At my school, they just called it the Don O'Neill room.
Right.
Yeah. Well, you're back to your room today. Okay, thank you.
At other times, they've documented that a teacher called it solitary.
Yeah.
They sent a student, to solitary, which you're not supposed to label it that. And so they go through and they talk about a lot of different, what they say are abuses of the system. And then they have some heart-wrenching stories of kids as young as third or fourth grade. That this one comes from a Fresh Start center where the kid is yelling, "Please, someone respond to me. I'm sorry I ripped the paper. I overreacted. Please just let me out. Is there anyone out there?" This kid was getting hysterical. They were separated. They were alone for ripping a piece of paper, and they couldn't get out. The door was locked from the outside, couldn't get out. Another time at an elementary school, "Please, please, please open the door. Please, I'll be good. Open the door. I promise I'll be quiet." And so they have a bunch of different things here. And so they sort of leave it up to the reader, but they point out, like, is there a better way to do this? 19 states, Washington is not one of them, have basically outlawed this, taken those quiet rooms. In one example, they said they took the door off. They put a lot of soft surfaces in. They put like a plush chair, like a lava lamp, and the kids are allowed to go in there when they need to. So it's self-diagnosed. If you're feeling out of control, if you're feeling overwhelmed, if you're feeling like you want to rip the paper or punch your friend, go in that room. Look at the lava lamp, sit down. They have some weighted toys, like these therapeutic toys that are heavier than normal toys. Hang out in there, chill out, find your space, and then you come out when you're ready. I had not thought of this. Do you think that they should outlaw the quiet room? Or is there a reason for this?
I think this really is a school-to-school issue. And like at my son's school, I'm really lucky, because the parents are an army, and they show up as an army. And it doesn't matter whether there's an assembly during the day and the kids are singing or playing music, whatever it is, the parents show up in force. When I drop my son off before school, moms and dads are there in force. When I look around, I see a lot of wedding rings, a lot of people that are married, that are partners, that have families, partnerships. And I know just from the schools that I grew up in, it's not always that way. Sometimes you live in a blue-collar community where parents are working.
Right.
And they can't take time off during the day to come to an assembly. Or the school bus is dropping their child off and picking their child up, and they might have 3 different children going to 2 different schools, whatever it is. And you're just worrying about making sure that they have gloves today and that they have a lunch today and who's going to what. You're trying to figure all those things out. And I think for teachers, I think what gets really difficult, because in a lot of our classrooms, we're asking teachers, even Seattle Public Schools, to facilitate learning in a 3rd or 4th or 5th grade class for 31 kids, for 31 children. If you don't have an administration and you don't have parents that are coming around and volunteering lots of time in that classroom, that can become very taxing for that teacher.
So if I'm hearing you right, you're saying each school should be allowed to decide.
Well, there'd be a lot of schools that can't even afford a quiet room, that couldn't even afford to create a space like that. So you would be in La La Land thinking that there would be schools out there that would even have that kind of space to create that kind of room, or that kind of room, or to do that kind of budget. So I think I think trying to provide a place that's not punitive, where kids can cool off. I see that this started in a good place, but you can also see when you leave a child in there and you're not meeting a child in that moment where they're at. Because a lot of times when a child is in crisis, it's different if you and I are in crisis. Maybe we need some time to cool off and we need to go sit in a room. For a lot of children, when they are
Being
in
alone
crisis,
makes it worse.
Yeah, they don't need to go sit in a room to be alone. They need someone there to listen and to help them process, understand, and to find help for them.
So your point, you almost need another person to come in that's not the teacher and head of the 31 kids to diagnose this. Say this kid's acting up or ripping paper or hitting their classmate
and who's going to pay? Who's going in a public school? Who's going to pay for that?
That's what I'm saying. I'm trying to have a fair. Like my instinct is to say that this should not be a thing. If you have a 7-year-old and 8-year-old kid, putting them in a room by themselves after some sort of incident has happened seems punitive.
In an ideal,
seems better to sit down with that kid and go, "What is going on with you?"
In an ideal world, you should be able to call a parent, have a parent come in and say, "Hey, can you sit down with your child and let's figure things out because this happened in class and that's not okay." And then you approach it and then the parent has a shot to be a part of this team and helping to correct the behavior. But again, a lot of times in many schools, that's just not going to happen. There are parents out there or single parents out there that are like, wow. Like for my mom, she's taking care of 4 kids. She wouldn't have time to take time out during the day.
The quiet room was the shed.
Yeah, my brother and I are back in the quiet room again, and there's issues and their problems.
I guess I just anticipated that when I read that 19 states have outlawed this or removed it from the school system, I was like, oh, I bet Washington's one of those since it's such a progressive state. And I looked it up. It's like, nope. There's all these rules on when you can put a kid, when you can even bind a kid, restrain a kid, and then there's rules on when you can put them in the quiet room, when you can't. And so I looked at that. I was like, wow. So in a public school, if a child hits another child, they can be restrained, and then basically it sounds like solitary confinement to me.
Yeah, and here's
where not opening the door when they plead.
And here's where we have to have problems with, here's where we have to address screens. And right now we are sitting somewhere and we're putting the show together, and my son is sitting on a screen over at your house. He's playing on an Xbox. But what did he tell you when he walked in about his Xbox? His Xbox,
he doesn't have one.
He doesn't have one. There's a reason he doesn't have an Xbox at home. And it's because during the week.
So you're saying I'm corrupting your child?
Yeah. Well, you know what? It's a special time over here, and we're at Mr. Ron, so he's playing the Xbox, and we're recording the Ron and Don show. But during the week, we don't use screens. We have gotten off screens during the week. If you are parenting your child and using the screen to do that, well, when they go to school, they don't have the social skills then to communicate with other students about when they're mad or they're angry or they're upset. They don't have those social skills to communicate that to another parent or to a teacher or to a coach. And that's why it's so important that these screens out there are hijacking our kids' brains. We have to get them off these screens. We have to be very careful about not giving them phones too early. In fact, I was talking to my counselor today, and she said, I have people that are coming to see me now that are 20, 21, 22 years old. And she said they are completely addicted to that phone. In the same way that people are addicted to drugs and alcohol, they are addicted to that phone. They are addicted to the screen on that phone. And they come in here and they're going through therapy right now, cognitive therapy, trying to figure out how they disconnect from that phone. So your kids get addicted to that phone at a young age. It means they're not going to have the social skills, and they'll probably end up in a room like that too at some point, figuratively, mentally, or physically. Yeah. He's Ron, I'm Don, and we are so thankful that you're listening to the Ron and Don show today. Don't forget you can find everything at ronanddon.com. We will see you in about 1 minute. Yeah, why wouldn't we?
Help cops help kids. Go to ronandon.com right now and buy a t-shirt. And $5 from every t-shirt sale will help kids like me. It's called Charlie's Dinosaur.
Well, hey, you guys, here we go into the winter driving months here in the great Pacific Northwest, as my son used to say. You know what I did last fall is I stopped by Schwab Tire Center, and I said, could you put the new Mazama open-range tires on my 4Runner? And I'm telling you, Ron, when they put those tires on, it was a game changer when it came to control, when it came to gas mileage, and when I would put my truck in four-wheel drive. Sometimes with the other tires, it would slip. Not with the Mazama open-range tires. And don't forget, you have a 60-day ride guarantee. So if you get to the 59th day and you don't like those tires, take them back to Les Schwab, and they'll just replace them for you.
Yeah, not just a 60-day guarantee, 60,000-mile warranty on these tires. So go to leschwab.com. You can find the store nearest you. Head on in there. If you need some traction, you're concerned about winter driving, you're going to go snowboarding, skiing, you're going over the passes this winter, this is what you need to do.
Yeah, and if you're in a passenger vehicle, which a lot of you are as you're listening to the Ron and Don podcast, you can choose the Mazama Reputation tires. Those are great too. That's all season traction. They are quiet. They are comfortable. And you get that 70,000 mile warranty. So what are you waiting for? Visit leschwab.com. That's leschwab.com for more information about these amazing tires. And I can't endorse them enough. Les Schwab, let's say it together. Doing the right thing. You know it matters. Oh, don't forget it's the Ron and Don Sit Down. We are licensed agents. Agent O'Neill, Agent Upshaw.
Not with the federal BI.
No. But we wear cool agent glasses.
And we do talking to our wrist, even though there's no microphone out.
Yeah. We'd love to sit down with you. It's called the Ron and Don Sit Down. And we have a cup of coffee. We sit down. We talk with you. We find out where you are on your real estate journey. And we also explore maybe how we can help as we head into 2020. A lot of you have some big plans. We've been sitting down with a lot of people, and we would love to have an opportunity to sit down with you. To do it, yeah, it doesn't cost anything. All you have to do is reach out. Don O'Neill at Windermere.com, Ron Upshaw at Windermere.com, and then we'll all get in a room together, and we will take the door off.
It will not be a quiet room. It will be a room where we talk.
Padded room, and we will all sit there and cry.
So I wanted to ask you this, because we're in December. And I've known you since second grade, and so I feel like I have a pretty good sample size on what I'm about to ask you. You are one of the few people I know that you don't fall into the resolution trap at the end of the year when everyone else starts making these resolutions and then they go gangbusters for 2 weeks and then fall on their face. For whatever reason, and this has been the same way when we were kids, when we were in our 20s, 30s, 40s, you don't make a resolution, but when you decide to do something, you just do it. And I'm curious if you can talk about that, because I'm probably more like the average person where it's like, I even thought about this when the calendar struck December. I'm like, oh, maybe I should re-up that, that gym thing that I did where it was an app and I could go to the thing and do the deal. And I was like, dude, you did that last year. You did it for a couple months and then you stopped doing it. Why don't you do more like Don and just, I don't know how, is there a formula or a way that you do it? Because you seem to be that rare person that's just like, I don't need a resolution. I don't need it to be January. For me, if I want to make a change, I'm going to make a change. And it appears like you just do it. And I'm curious how you do that, if there's a method to the madness.
Well, it's interesting because in January, it'll be a year when a change was kind of decided for us. We had our terrestrial radio jobs, and it was decided, in fact, you can go back and listen to episode 1. It was decided that we wouldn't be working in our terrestrial radio jobs anymore. Our contracts had come to an end. They weren't renewed. Our ratings were great, and so we had to sit there for a moment and grieve that, and we had to figure that out. And then it's like, okay, I'm 52 years old now, and I need to go out and figure out my why and recreate myself and relaunch my life and relaunch my career. And in doing so, what I have always tried to do is to place myself in a position around people that are much smarter than me. So, for instance, when I decided to climb Mount Rainier, I went to the greatest guys that there are, the two greatest guys, and that's Lou Whitaker and his brother Jim. And Jim is the first mountaineer to ever climb. I think he's climbed all the 8,000 peaks. I think he's done it all, along with Ed Viesters. But he was the first American to do it. And these guys have an organization called RMI. They hire the best climbers in the world. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go train with them. And I'm going to climb with RMI because they are the very best. So I would go out on these training runs. And I would go out and we would do these ropes courses. And I would be the worst person. I would be the worst person on the mountain. I would be the worst person there when it came to training. And I would just get my hair handed to myself. And as a result of that, I think that's why when we went to do the climb, I had the confidence to not only do the climb, but to finish the climb and to summit because not only was I doing it with the greatest mountaineers in the world, but I had trained with them. Same thing with real estate. There were lots of different companies out there that we could go and connect with. But when it comes to really a full service company that is doing incredible things when it comes to homelessness in our community. And it also comes to, they do an incredible job of providing homes for people and relocating people and making sure that their real estate dreams are coming true. In this community, it's Windermere. You go yard to yard, and the yard arms that you see, the for sale signs that you see, it's Windermere. And then we have an opportunity to sit down, and I'm not saying this just because this is a company we're working for, but when you sit down with these agents, they know so much. They know so much, and you learn so much, and you glean so much just by being around them. When I decided that I was going to try cycling, I didn't just jump into cycling. I made sure that I got with one of the greatest cyclists in Washington State history. His name is Gary Verrill. He's a Ram rider. He has raced his bike across America, and I'm like, you know what? I want to hang out with Gary, and I want to become the best cyclist that I can be. I've never, I'm certainly not the type of cyclist that Gary is, but I've done my very best. I just got done completing 20 years of teaching spin class. I surrounded myself at Studio 360 down in Phoenix, Arizona, with the very best instructors that money can buy.
So what if someone's hearing this and they're like, well, I can't do that. Like, I don't have that. Don has special access because he's high profile. I just want to lose 20 pounds, or I just want to get in better shape. I can't go out and hire Mr. Universe to be my personal coach.
I don't think losing 20 pounds should ever be a goal. I think that's a really crappy goal, because when you lose the 20, then what do you do when you gain 2 back? I think what you have to do is figure out a lifestyle of movement, and whatever a lifestyle of movement is for you, then the pounds, the weight, the diet, all that stuff is going to take care of itself. Because if you're living a lifestyle of movement and you decide, and one of the best things you can do is a vigorous walk. It's not going to a gym and lifting big weights if you want to live a life of longevity. It's getting up, and also getting up with your partner or getting up with your tribe or meeting somewhere and going on a nice vigorous walk. If that includes some stairs, that's awesome. Going out and getting a dog. Getting a dog is one of the greatest things that you can do for yourself, not only for your self-esteem, not only for your family, but that dog is up in the morning, which means you're going to be up in the morning, which means you're going to go for a walk with that dog, or it means you're going to go for a run through the woods, whatever it is. And so I think getting a dog and being the best dog owner that you can be, that my son and I have done that this year. We've gone on that journey. That's been one of the best things that we could do as a family. And as a result of that, running with Charlie, when I run with him 6 miles in the evening, it keeps me in pretty good shape. And then I don't have to worry about whether I have that 20 pounds on.
So is it a switch for you where you just go, I'm going to do X?
You know what?
And you just decide, and then you don't have moments of weakness where you're like, you fall off the wagon?
No, of course you have all that, but if you don't surround yourself, like I have a number of investment properties, and the team of people that I have around me and the partners that I have around me, they are the very best at what they do, the very best. And I get in there with them, and I'm just trying to hang on, and I'm trying to be a contributor. If you're the smartest person in the room in everything that you do, it probably means you're not that smart. And the reason you're not that smart is because you're not placing yourself in situations where you feel challenged. So I would tell people, as you're thinking about heading into 2020, what are some of the things that I could do to better challenge myself, to put myself in a position where I am around some of the very best people at whatever it is I'm interested in. Because people are willing to mentor you if you're curious and if you ask good questions. And if you're just willing to give something to yourself.
So don't do resolutions.
What's that?
Don't resolve anything. Make a decision.
I don't want to tell people what to do, because if a resolution is something that sparks you, then I think that's great. Whatever sparks you and gets you going. But in the end, if you decide, if the resolution is to lose 20 pounds, then surround yourself with people that are losing 40 and 50 pounds. So when you're losing 20 pounds, it doesn't seem so ominous. And then you're looking around. Like, if you've ever gone to a CrossFit gym one time, you think those people are crazy. You walk away and you go, you know what? That is a freaking cult. Those people are nuts. Those are a bunch of nut jobs in there. But join a CrossFit gym for the next 30 days, 45 days, 60 days. And don't worry about whether you're going to lose weight. Just show up. and be around and surround yourself with a tribe of people that get together, that work out each and every day, the 20, 30, 40 pounds, whatever it is, will take care of itself. And you will find out that you could be a CrossFitter too. That maybe you are a little nuts too. As we talked about before, everybody's crazy. Just find the people that have the same kind of crazy.
That's good. I mean, I respect you immensely for that. You're very unusual, I think, in that regard. Yeah. So good job.
Well, thanks for that. I appreciate that. Hey, we appreciate you stopping by the Ron and Don Show. Thank you so much for listening. And we really want people to subscribe. And we appreciate everybody going out there and just giving us great reviews, and also Les Schwab great reviews, and Windermere great reviews.
Yeah, you can find us at ronandon.com, also on like iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Play, all the big ones, Anchor.fm. You can find us, you can review us, you can give us a star rating. That really helps. Ron and Don merchandise available, still $5 for every Ron and Don Nation t-shirt is going to Charlie's Dinosaur. You can buy the dog bandanas and make great Christmas gifts, Hanukkah gifts, Shaka Khan gifts, whatever you got.
All right, very good. You've been traveling a lot. What's one podcast besides ours that you love right now that you're listening to?
Oh, Akimbo. Yeah. Seth Godin has a new podcast. It's been out for a while, but Akimbo. He takes a really interesting idea and he just expounds on it for about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
They're short.
Okay.
They're insightful. They get you to think.
Akimbo.
Akimbo. A-K-I-M-B-O.
I'll check it out. All right. Dolly Parton's America.
Good.
9 episodes. And she has interviewed in Dolly Parton's America. She's been on stage now for 56 years.
I love me some Dolly.
And they say that 80% of the people used to love her used to be 55 years of age or older. And now it's completely flipped, where 80% of the people that love her are 55 years or younger. And there's a lot of millennials out there that have fallen in love with Dolly Parton. And they kind of dig in and they find out why. And also, her relationship with Porter Wagner back in the day
was pretty unbelievable.
She talks about it.
Did they talk about it?
Dolly Parton's America?
Her connecting with Washington's own Brandi Carlile. They seem to have a
I don't know, because I'm in my 4th episode right now.
Nice.
There's 9 episodes altogether, but I think they've only released 6 so far. So maybe that'll come out. I see that Brandi Carlile she's at the Gorge with Sheryl Crow this year.
That'll be a good show.
How about that? All right. Anyway, keep your head up, your shoulders back. I think I already reminded you of that. And we'll see you real soon. It's the Ron and Don Show, only on the Ron and Don Radio Network.
Ron and Don are licensed real estate brokers with Windermere Midtown. Are you ready to buy or sell a home? Yeah, call my dad or his best friend Ron. You should see them at an open house. They're hilarious.